I need to go into this because now I need to get into the universal laws. And I know I lost some people. For those of you all who have eyes to see and ears to hear, pay attention, all right? Because this is what Patrick was trying to get on, but you cannot present this kind of information when you're talking about politics. Politics is garbage because the whole time they're only talking about politics. There is a spiritual issue going on in this whole land that we call North America. There's a spiritual issue. Not only that, there's an ignorance issue with a lack of knowledge about what truly happened in history. So I need to get back on what Roland Martin was saying. I'm going to play this part where Martin talks about slavery, all right?
You talk about crime in places, you then look at what are the numbers of people there, what are the pockets there, what are those communities, and how did those communities, how were they created literally not over 20, 30 years, but literally over 50, 75, 100 years. Now, that was Jim Crow.
How many years does it take to change?
What are you talking about?
How many years does it take to create change?
When you have,
how long does it take to create change?
First of all, you talking to us about a black in America.
How long does it take to create change?
When you have had, walk through 243 years of slavery, 92 years of Jim Crow, and then you get to 1970 when you are technically fully free, you can't act like all of that before did not impact. The issues that you're having now have to do with not Democratic or Republican policies. It has to do with literally white supremacy and Jim Crow in America. We are still, to act as if we are still not dealing with that. How did housing discrimination take place in this country? Do you know who created it?
All right. So he talks about 270 years of slavery and 90 years of Jim Crow and all these other things. But what he failed to recognize is the true history before that. Why is it important for us to recognize the fact that there's a history before what we call slavery of melanated people? One of the reasons why it's important to recognize the history before that is because then we get back to universal laws. Now we can start to recognize and understand why melanated people are going through what they're going through. This is the disconnect right here. What I'm going to speak on right here, this is the disconnect. So pay attention. Okay. We got this issue where there was a history, or who actually started the United States of America. That was in 1777. We keep thinking, when people say our founding fathers and all that, they thinking Albions. But those people were melanated. But we show proof of that in several of our videos. The original people of the land were melanated. Then when you're talking about the so-called founding fathers, those are melanated. Why is it that y'all think George Washington was the first president when there were many presidents before George Washington in what we call the Continental Congress? The Continental Congress started in 1777. And then it went on up until 1789, which is when George Washington came in 13 years later. Well, why is it that we're not talking about that time period? Well, because there was a lot of melanated presidents in there. If not all of them, they were Moors. Well, who were the Moors? These are melanated people coming from other countries. Now, there were Moors that weren't affiliated with places like Morocco and Tunis because they wanted to break away. They didn't want to be a part of Spain and wherever they were coming from, but they were melanated. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we not talking about the Moors that are coming in from the Barbary countries? Tunis, Algiers, Tripoli, Montezuma, Morocco. Why are we not talking about them? Because they were the ones who were originally settling here. Why are we not talking about them? Because they are the ones who were bringing in slaves. The original slaves were Albions. Why are we not talking about that? It's important that we know that. Not knowing that puts you in a victimhood state like what Roland Martin is talking about. You don't recognize that you're putting yourself in a victimhood state because you don't know the true history of this country. They told you so-called black people came over on slave ships when the vast majority of melanated people in this land we know of as North America are native to the land. But when they can get you to call yourself something other than the original people or Indian or whatever, Native American, when they can get you to call yourself black, colored, Negro, which are all lowered statuses, and you keep calling yourself black, and every time you do that, you have said you're dead. That's what black means for those of y'all who don't know.